We're starting today with some really, really disturbing news. It really puts a spotlight on the immediate human cost when these geopolitical tensions boil over. We're seeing reports confirming a tragic spike in conflict between Thailand and Cambodia, and the toll is devastating. Civilian fatalities, yeah, including the heart-wrenching loss of an 8-year-old boy. It's just a stark, brutal reminder of how fast these flashpoints can just explode. So for this deep dive, you've given us this stack of sources detailing these recent clashes, but also digging into the incredibly complex history behind it all. Our mission then is pretty clear. Unpack the immediate crisis, try to understand the really deep historical roots here, explore the powerful domestic political stuff swirling around, and then look at the broader regional implications. You know, when I first started reading these, I was just struck by how quickly a border skirmish could spiral into what the source material is calling a larger regional crisis. It's quite something. Okay, let's unpack this.
So how does a border dispute that's been simmering for ages suddenly, flare up into the deadliest clashes they've seen in over a decade? The sources seem to point to an immediate spark. That early morning fight near the Preah Vihear temple.
That's right, the Preah Vihear temple. And for anyone listening who might not know, this is actually a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Its ownership has been a huge point of contention for, well, more than a century. Even after an International Court of Justice ruling, it's still sensitive.
Right. And straight away, both sides are pointing fingers, saying the other fired first. Predictable, maybe.
Almost always the case in these situations, isn't it? But then Thailand really escalated significantly. They deployed fighter jets, F-16s, specifically according to the sources, bombing Cambodian military outposts.
Wow, F-16s, that's serious firepower.
It is, and that's when the accusations really start flying back and forth. Thailand claims Cambodia then retaliated, launching rockets into civilian areas. The sources mention, for instance, a rocket hitting a 7-Eleven near a petrol station in Thailand's Seaside Cape province.
7-Eleven, good grief.
Yeah, and Thai officials are reporting at least 11, maybe 12 civilians killed on their side from these attacks, including that 8-year-old boy we mentioned. Cambodia, interestingly, hasn't reported any fatalities yet. But officials in Thailand's Surin province, they expect their death toll to climb.
It's just awful. Absolutely heartbreaking. The Thai military itself is calling this the deadliest day of fighting between them in, what, more than 10 years?
Over a decade, yes.
Yeah.
And as a sign of how serious they're taking it, Thailand sealed the entire border, all 508 miles of it.
Sealed the whole border.
Yeah.
That really signals, well, it raises fears this could drag on, couldn't it? Become a prolonged conflict.
Exactly. It's not just a temporary measure. It suggests they're digging in for something longer, potentially much worse.
And when you start digging into why it escalated so fast, one thing that jumps out immediately is the military difference between the two countries. Right?
Absolutely. That military imbalance is stark, and you can see how it shapes the whole narrative, how both sides frame what they're doing. So Thailand's military accuses Cambodia of putting heavy weapons right into civilian areas. They talk about rocket launchers, artillery hitting villages, homes, even public buildings.
Right.
They also claim Cambodia is planting new landmines along the border, and Thailand keeps saying, we're acting in self-defense. They even mentioned a Thai soldier getting wounded by a mine.
But Cambodia is pushing back hard.
Just as hard. They called for an emergency UN Security Council meeting. They're accusing Thailand, calling their army far larger and better equipped of brutal, barbaric aggression.
Wrong words.
Very strong. Cambodia insists they're just responding to Thai provocations, and they flatly deny planting any new mines, on top of the millions already there.
So you have this clear imbalance on paper. Thailand's military is much bigger, much better equipped. But Cambodia goes straight to the UN? Does that suggest maybe that Cambodia sees international pressure as its main weapon here rather than trying to match Thailand militarily?
That's a really sharp observation. I think that's exactly right. The military difference is huge. Thailand's forces are, more than 3 times the size of Cambodia's? And their air force is one of the best in Southeast Asia. Cambodia, meanwhile, has no fighter jets at all.
Yeah.
0.
No jets at all.
None. So yeah, Cambodia going straight to the UN, it highlights that gap. It's a classic playbook when you're militarily weaker. Try to internationalize the conflict, gain diplomatic leverage, but fundamentally you still have both sides accusing each other, fueling the escalation, just using different tools based on their capabilities.
And the core of this, the source of the friction, it goes way back, doesn't it? Colonial history again.
It always seems to, especially in this part of the world. Like so many conflicts in Asia, the deep roots are colonial. Over 100 years ago, you had the Kingdom of Siam, that's pre-modern Thailand and the French, who controlled what's now Cambodia. They agreed on a border demarcation.
Agreed, but maybe not really agreed.
Well, that's the thing. That colonial-era map and the border it defined, Thailand has basically contested ever since. It's caused flare-ups again and again throughout history.
And this latest fighting started near that sacred temple, Priya Vihor.
Exactly. Which is just one hot spot along this disputed border. Both countries have claimed sites like this for over a century.
So it's not just lines on a map. It's woven into national identity, historical grievances.
Absolutely. It's land, it's heritage, it's pride. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it shows how those lines, drawn by colonial powers, long gone now, are still like tripwires.
Tripwires. That's a good way to put it. Just waiting for something to set them off.
Precisely. And they can ignite whenever domestic politics get heated or nationalism surges. It's a potent reminder that mistakes or decisions from a century ago can still fuel today's conflicts and today's tragedies.
Which brings us to something else in the sources that really leaped out at me. The timing seems significant. The domestic political chaos inside Thailand right now.
Oh, yeah. That's a massive complicating factor. It's almost too intertwined to be a coincidence, isn't it?
It feels like it. The sources mention Thailand's Prime Minister, Paetongtarn Shinawatra, was suspended just last month over a leaked phone call.
That's right. A phone call with Cambodia's former leader, Hun Sen. Now, Hun Sen is a longtime ally of her father, who's also a former and quite controversial prime minister.
Okay, so connections there already.
Deep connections. And in this leaked call, she apparently called Hun Sen uncle, which is, quite familiar and seemed to criticize her own military, Thailand's powerful military.
Oh, criticizing your own military in a private call that then leaks.
Yeah.
That's explosive.
Politically nuclear,
Yeah.
basically. It immediately sparked huge anti-government protests in Thailand, people accusing her of undermining national sovereignty. The sources even mentioned fighting on the streets of Bangkok.
Wow, so internal fighting literally spilling onto the streets, just as external fighting flares up on the border. Here's where it gets really interesting.
It really does hammer home how tightly linked internal politics and this border conflict are. It's not happening in a vacuum.
And the public mood sounds incredibly conflicted, too. There was that quote in the source material that really stuck with me.
Which one was that?
Something like, many don't want war. They also say Thailand needs to show strength.
Yeah.
And then, oh, yeah, I want it to end. But if we don't retaliate, they'll think we're weak.
Yes. That perfectly captures the bind, doesn't it? That tension between wanting peace, but also feeling that nationalistic pressure to appear strong, not to back down. Leaders get caught in that trap.
Makes it incredibly difficult to de-escalate, I imagine.
Especially when internal opponents might seize on any perceived weakness. This complex mix of internal politics and external conflict just makes regional diplomacy so much harder.
So what is the region doing? Are neighbors getting involved?
Well, there's definitely concern. Other countries in the region are worried, as you'd expect. China, for instance. Beijing has huge investments in Cambodia, but also deep ties, economic and political, with Thailand. So they've expressed concern.
And ASEAN, the Southeast Asian regional group.
ASEAN too, yes. It's partly chaired by Malaysia currently. They've also voiced concerns, called for both sides to, cool it down, de-escalate.
But are calls for restraint enough?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Both ASEAN and China generally stick to this principle of non-interference in the internal affairs of other countries.
Right, the non-interference principle, often criticized.
Often. So for now, they're hoping that just urging calm will work. But there's a real risk things could spiral further, get out of hand.
And if that happens?
Then you might see more direct pressure needed, maybe from Beijing, maybe from ASEAN capitals. But they'd be reluctant to go down that road unless absolutely necessary. It's a very delicate diplomatic dance.
This raises an important question, though. How effective can regional diplomacy really be when non-interference is such a core principle? Can it actually stop members from sliding into conflict?
It's a fundamental challenge for bodies like ASEAN, balancing sovereignty with collective security.
So, looking at the immediate situation, the sources say there's no ceasefire in sight.
None reported no. The description used is stark. Armed and angry on a collision course that's getting harder to reverse.
Armed and angry. That sounds bleak. The human cost we started with, that little boy.
Yeah.
It's just devastating. It really drives home the reality of these flare-ups.
It does, but there is maybe a sliver of hope. historically speaking.
Oh.
Despite the current intensity, the sources do note that both countries, and they share a lot, culturally, economically, they do have a track record of being able to climb down from previous escalations.
Okay, so it's not unprecedented for them to pull back from the brink.
Exactly. It's happened before. So while it looks grim now, there's still that possibility, that glimmer of hope, that some kind of resolution can be found eventually.
So what does this all mean? For you, listening to this unfold, we've covered quite a bit here. We've seen the immediate deadly clashes sparked near that ancient temple, fueled by accusations flying back and forth, military actions escalating.
Mm. And we've traced it back over a century to a border dispute rooted in colonial history. Those lines on the map still causing friction today.
Then we layered on the domestic politics in Thailand, that internal turmoil, the leaked call, the protests, how it all intertwines with the tensions on the border.
And finally, touching on the regional reaction, the concern from China, from ASEAN, but also their caution, that principle of non-interference limiting their options, perhaps.
Understanding all these layers, all these threads, it's crucial for you, not just to know the facts, but to grasp the deeper mechanics of how history, nationalism, and internal politics can combine.
And how they can fuel these international tensions, often, as we've seen so tragically here, with devastating human consequences.
It really leaves us with a critical question to think about, doesn't it?
I think so. How do nations navigate these situations? When you have historical grievances that run so deep, mixed with volatile domestic politics, how do you step back from the brink? Especially when the very lines causing the dispute were drawn by outside powers ages ago.
And that other point you raised, what role does a region's commitment to non-interference really play? Does it help stability in the long run? Or does it sometimes allow conflicts like this to fester, maybe even spiral?
Yeah, does it prevent intervention that might actually help de-escalate? Or does it rightly protect sovereignty? There's no easy answer there.
Definitely something to mull over. The long-term impact of these unresolved historical issues just sitting there waiting for the next spark. It's a sobering thought.